Well, hello there. Bad placement here. If you're wondering why I have this mug, it's because I'm continuing the series on ranking every episode of The Office. And this is the first time we see this mug because the episode with this mug will be in here. So this will be from 145 to 136 to see the other episodes. This is I believe the fifth one I've done. Um, Subscribe to the Donut Bag, check out my YouTube channel, and they are there. So let's get into it. Number 145, season 8, episode 12, Pool Party. Robert California is divorcing his wife and intends to sell his mansion. Upon Kevin's suggestion, he throws a party as a last hurrah and invites everyone. Andy wants to propose to Jessica, but his engagement ring ends up missing. Aaron is trying to make Andy jealous. Gabe and Ryan compete for Robert California's attention, and Jim keeps trying to leave the party. And the cold open was funny. Pam is gone, I think, because she's pregnant or having a baby or whatever. And Jim tries to impress Stanley by pranking Dwight with meatballs. Jim tries various things to get Stanley's approval, and finally he figures out meatballs, so he keeps doing meatball pranks. But what Jim doesn't realize is Dwight and Stanley are working together to get a haul of meatballs. They just collect all the meatballs. So that was cute. There's really not a whole lot to this episode. Everybody's at Robert California's house. They drink lots of wine. It's a pool party. Daryl doesn't want to go in because into the pool because he's still overweight, and he doesn't want to show Val his body. Yeah, and there's just not a lot here. Andy wants to propose to Jessica, but he loses the ring, and then I think Kelly gets it or something like that, and I don't know. Eventually, Aaron finds it and gives it back to him. Aaron is very jealous, and she's flirting with Dwight, which was really weird. This is just a weird episode. There's really not a lot to say. And then in the end, Robert California jumps into the pool naked. Cool. Okay. Number 144, season 8, episode 2, The Incentive. Under pressure from Robert to increase branch sales, Andy offers an incentive program to the sales staff, which backfires on him when he offers a very personal grand prize. The cold open was Kevin was talking weird. He was, I guess you could call it a minimalist vocabulary, which Jim and Pam thought meant that he needed to go to the hospital. But Angela says, no, that's just Kevin being Kevin. And you still hear this a lot now, that the phrase, why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick. That's what this is from. The main plot of this episode is Andy tries to come up with some point system. So he has various prizes that you get if you get enough points. And then when Jim finds out that you could pull points together, and he gives crazy prizes, like I'll run through the parking lot naked, or I'll wear a dress or something like that. And he says, well, what do you do for 5,000 points? He's like, well, you'll never get the 5,000 points. But if you do, I'll tattoo whatever you want on my butt. And the office has never been more productive or working hard. It's funny how everybody was working. Even Stanley was actually doing work. It was funny. So they all come up with 5,000 points in one day, and they all go to the tattoo parlor, and Andy doesn't want to go through with it, but Jim gives him a little pep talk. And what they end up doing is Pam drew a little drawing of a Nardog that he has on his butt. I like the line, "My heart belongs in music, but my ass belongs to these people." Also, there was a subplot of Angela and Pam are they're pregnant together, and Angela said they should start walking because that's what some pregnancy book said. But then Angela is trying to report Pam because she drinks coffee or something like that, and Pam says, "Just get away from me." So that was dumb, but that's that episode. Number 143, season 8, episode 4, Garden Party. Andy claims to be throwing a garden party at Dwight's farm to impress Robert California, but he's really doing it to win the approval of his parents, who appear to favor his young brother. The cold open for this was really funny. Andy put up billboards promoting Dunder Mifflin, and it was just him in various poses where he looks like he's holding penises, and people drew penises on the billboards. Some of the poses were just so funny that just like it was so open for people to draw penises on it. And then Dwight comes in and says, "What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, people are defacing the billboards and putting lewd things on them." And Dwight says, "You mean that photo shoot we did?" He's like, "No, no, 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 no." And he runs out of the office. He runs down the streets and he sees a billboard of like uh, Dwight is like bent over in front of Andy, and it's like, that was really funny. That was a really good one. So Jim pulls a prank on Dwight by writing a book about how to make a garden party. And that's a lot of effort. Writing a book to prank someone, that's a lot of effort just for a prank. And Dwight does so many things because the party is at Dwight's farm. He does so many things. There's a closing ceremony, there's torches, there's dances, there's announcements. It's just it's goofy things that Jim tricked Dwight into doing. Like, okay, whatever. For some reason, Kevin was wearing a toupee. I don't know. Okay, cool. But the main thing about this episode is Andy was just trying to impress his parents, and his parents love and favor the other brother played by Josh Groban. And Andy's dad was such a jerk. Oh my goodness. He was just like over the top, like almost like comic book villain evil to Andy. Like you really felt bad for him. At the end, the parents leave and Andy's about to leave and he just feels terrible, but everybody from the office just is gathering around, just hanging out, and they invite him over. They have little like cookout or something like that. So that was nice. But my God, boy, did they make Andy such a terrible Andy's Andy's dad such a terrible person. Just, wow. Number 142, season 9, episode 9, Dwight Christmas. When the party planning committee forgets to plan the annual Christmas party, Dwight gets everyone to celebrate with a traditional Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas. Daryl is afraid that Jim has forgotten to include him for the new job in Philadelphia. Pete teaches Aaron about his favorite movie, Die Hard. Toby discusses the Scranton Strangler trial with Nellie. For some reason, there was no cold opening. I don't know why. This is the first episode since the pilot to not have a cold open. I don't know why. And for some reason, Jim and Pam really wanted Dwight's idea of Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas. I don't know why. Maybe they thought it would be amused by all the goofy things Dwight would do. And Dwight did a bunch of goofy, weird things, which actually some of them are true. What is that? I forget what the thing is, what the thing he dressed up as, but that's an actual thing. But the main part of this episode was Jim's first day of work in Philly. He was going to leave early, so he left the party early, which really hurt Dwight's feelings. And it also really really upset Daryl, because months ago Jim said, "Oh yeah, I'll get you a job there." And then he forgot about it, even when Daryl reminded him. But so when Jim leaves, Dwight basically cancels the party and they have like a traditional Christmas party or something like that. But then Jim comes back and uh and Pam is happy to see him, but then Dwight, this is really sweet. Dwight rushes over to give him a hug and he resumes Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas, and they have this giant what was it, some kind of pig part or something like that, some pig bone that they're fighting over, like a wishbone, and Jim wins and sprays like pig blood over all over people or something like that. I don't know. Daryl got really trashed and was just about to um go off on Jim, but Jim says, "Hey, I got you an interview at that new place," and he's like, "Okay, cool." And he's trying to play cool, but then Daryl falls through the table that had like all the food and drinks and stuff. Nellie made the mistake of asking Toby about the Scranton Strangler trial, and Toby just would not shut up about it. So to shut him up, she gave him a kiss, which unfortunately gave Toby the wrong impression that they are now going out. So that was a plot for a few episodes. Number 141, season 6, episode 14, The Banker. A wealthy investor shows up and shows interest in buying out Dunder Mifflin. And while he visits the Scranton branch, Michael and the office workers go full out in order to impress him. And during the visit, Michael reminisces on the good times he had during his time in the office. This is the first episode in this countdown featuring Steve Carell, Michael Scott. Woo! And it's the clip episode, which still, even if it's a clip episode, and even when it was 80% just showing old clips, it was still better than anything in season 8 or season 9. The cold open was Michael making changes because the banker was coming. I think he changed the car or something like that. He tried to say that you have to put, you have to make cosmetic changes and called Lady Gaga a drag queen or something like that. I don't know. So he comes in and there's Computron, who's played by Dwight, your virtual office assistant, kind of like AI. Maybe it was the grandfather of Chat GPT. I don't know, but ask Computron questions, and Dwight being Dwight, kind of went off on them. At one point, when Michael was showing the guy around, and he goes, "Good news, boss! We're now the official paper supplier of the NFL." And Michael says, "That's good, but not good enough. Keep working." And also, I don't know. I don't know what happened with the real Stanley, but he had a fake Stanley, which was like a much younger, good-looking guy. And Pam says, "I'm not on board with fake Stanley, although I get it." So yeah, I mean, it was a clip episode, but it was just still had some good gags. Number 140, season 7, episode 18, Todd Packer. After a long time on the road, Todd Packer returns to Scranton looking for a desk job. Unable to put up with his despicable personality, Dwight and Jim plot to get rid of him once and for all. The cold open was really bad. It was Dwight had to eat all of the canned food that was about to expire, and Jim and Dwight were talking about it. It was really, really dumb. Also, there was a plot of Pam. Pam got a new computer for Aaron, and Andy's computer really stunk. So she got him a new computer also, but they had to make it look like it was an old computer. Okay. But the main thing is Holly hired Packer for the stay in the office, and everybody told her no, he's terrible, and she's like, I don't know what are you talking about. Michael recommended him. And at the end, Packer tells Michael, he's like, you got to get rid of that girl. She's terrible. She's a stick in the mud. And that's when Michael finally realizes, oh, he sucks. And so he finds out that Jim and Dwight are they faked a call from Joe Bennett to get him down to Florida. And And Michael finds out, he's about to bust the whole thing open, but instead, when he sees how terrible he was and what he said about Holly, he's like, "Fine, go." He was fine about it. Um, when Jim sees that Dwight's trying to get rid of Packer, he talks to him and says, "Let's team up." And they come up with different things, and Jim says, "Well, how about we pretend that he has Justin Bieber tickets?" And Dwight says, "Who is Justice Beaver?" And Jim says, "Well, he's a crime fighting beaver." um that's one of the great gags from this. But yeah, basically it was Packer being horrible. Packer said horrible things about Kevin being fat and dumb, and people complained, so he apologized to him, which made things worse. And but in the end, Packer was gone. Number 139, season 7, episode 7, christening. During Jim and Pam's daughter's christening, Michael becomes upset over the lack of family-like unity between himself and the employees, so he responds by impulsively joining a teenage church mission to Mexico. The cold open was Pam was telling everybody that they need to be more sanitary to avoid getting sick. So she's going to put up hand sanitizers everywhere. Kind of like, wow, maybe Pam knew about COVID. I don't know. And Dwight says these should do the opposite. They should be exposed to germs, which actually I wonder if that's true. I wonder if it's better to be exposed to germs. So instead of sanitizing stations everywhere, he should put desanitizing stations, which are bowls full of dirt and vomit and feces to rub your hands in. And Jim says, "Oh, so we should sneeze in your face. So anytime anybody needs a sneeze, they just run up and sneeze in Dwight's face." But the main part of this is Cece gets christened. She poops on the christening dress, so Jim changed her in an Arcade Fire t-shirt, and so that's what she got christened in. There was a brief thing about Toby didn't want to go to the church because I guess he used to be wanted to be a priest or go in the cemetery, but he quit because of a girl. So now he doesn't want to go to church or something. Who cares? It's Toby. But after the christening, the church says, "Well, they're gonna have a party afterwards, and everybody's invited." And Jim and Pam are like, "What are you talking about?" And so they had no food, so everybody was angry about that. Everybody was grumbling about the food, and Michael saw that there was a church group that they looked all happy and stuff. So he said, why can't you all be happy? Why are you all grumpy? Why we should do more things together?" And Michael was so inspired that he joined the church group on a trip to Mexico, a mission to Mexico to build a school or something like that. And Andy joins him too for some reason. I don't know. But then in the middle of on the bus, they realize they've made a mistake. So they scream at the bus driver to stop the bus to get out. And of course, they make it super awkward. And then one of the people from the mission joins them too, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this just wasn't very funny. Number 138, season 1, episode 1, the pilot. Oh, the pilot. March 4th, 2005 introduces the employees of Dunder Mifflin Inc., a mid-sized paper company. Michael welcomes the crew and walks them around the office, introducing the employees. I heard that a possible reason that they had a crew film what happens in the office is because somebody died or something like that. Somebody committed suicide, or I don't know. In the office or something like that. I think that was a reference at some point. But anyway, this is the pilot. It was almost an identical remake of the first episode of the British version. Why would you do that? Why would you? Everybody is looking at this, this American version of a British show. Why would you make the pilot an exact copy of the show? Why would anybody want to watch that then? It's like, well, I'll just watch the UK version. Like, I didn't understand that decision. That was really weird. Pilots are always funny of long-standing shows, because you look at that first episode and you see what they did and what they were trying to do, and you see what eventually the show became. And you say, like, wow, this was so different. And that's why this episode is raised so low, because it's not that totally different, but still, that's just so different. At this point, Michael became inappropriate and bumbling and stuff, but he was also, lovable and likable. And at this point, he was just a jerk, especially that prank he played on Pam, where he said, you're fired, and he thought that was funny, and she's crying. Like, that was bad. This is the episode where Jim pranks Dwight by putting his office supplies in Jell-O. Michael proudly shows his world best boss mug that he got from Spencer's. There's people in they have a scene in the conference room, and there's like 3 or 4 people that we'll never see again. Now, I believe what happened was they filmed the pilot, and then like 6 months later they filmed the rest of season 1, which I think was that only 4 episodes or something like that? There weren't many episodes in season 1. Stanley does not act like Stanley. Stanley was standing in the meeting, and he was asking a lot of questions. He was very concerned about being fired. Did not act like Stanley. This is Jim pranks Dwight by putting his office supplies in Jell-O. That's one of the famous pranks of The Office. By the way, have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried putting something in Jell-O? It is hard. It is hard to keep that shape. I know we've done this at work. It's not easy. It breaks apart. So kudos to them, because at the end of the episode, Jim puts the world's best boss mug in a Jell-O mold. And the mold is completely intact. So kudos to them for getting that right. That could not have been easy. It is not easy to have put something in Jell-O mold. I know. But the Jan Levinson Gold reveals to Michael that Dunder Mifflin is about to be downsized, and the company has to decide between the Scranton and Stanford branches. That actually happened, and that was a major plot point of season 3. Not sure why they mentioned that here, but basically they were just saying that somebody has to go, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just making rumors that they're going to have downsizing. Number 137, season 7, episode 23, The Inner Circle. Tensions rise and feelings are hurt when D'Angelo creates an inner circle at the office, which is only composed of men. This is the first episode without Michael Scott, and the first episode where D'Angelo, played by Will Ferrell, is the boss. The cold open was weird. D'Angelo was trying to be tough, but he was telling them all wonderful things, like they're gonna have ice cream Thursdays, and basically he's gonna send Daryl to business school, whether he likes it or not. It's like it's just giving everybody what they want, but he was sounding tough about it. I don't know. It was really weird. But yeah, D'Angelo had his inner circle was Jim, Daryl, Kevin, and I forget who else. But then when Jim mentions, hey, you're kind of being sexist, then he kicks Jim out of the inner circle. And throughout the episode, D'Angelo tried to get tried to be nice to Dwight, and Dwight basically told him to go to hell every time. Anytime, just Dwight would just shut him down. I think, you know, we've seen Dwight for 6 seasons be a butt kisser to Michael Scott, and now we see a totally different Dwight who's probably mad that he wasn't manager, so he basically said screw this. So he basically told anytime Dwight would D'Angelo would try to be nice to Dwight just told him to go to hell. Finally at the end, when they all go down to the basketball courts, D'Angelo says, Dwight, come on down. He's like, no, I'm not going. And D'Angelo says, you come down right now, you're getting fired. And Dwight says, well, one thing about me, I respond to strong leaderships. That was funny. But D'Angelo says that he could dunk from half court or from the foul line or something like that, which is like a Michael Jordan move. But Jim says, well, why not just, instead of acting it out, like at one point during the episode, D'Angelo was fake acting, juggling, just pretend juggling, and it was really dumb. But Jim says, well, why don't we have a basketball hoop downstairs, let's all go downstairs and watch you. He's like, yeah, sure. And what D'Angelo does is he does dunk, but when he dunks, the entire basketball hoop falls down and he gets a massive head injury. They take him to the hospital, but then he comes back from the hospital, he's in a gown and he's saying absolute gibberish. And I believe that was it. That was it for D'Angelo as regional manager. So what quite a way to go out. Number 136, season 6, episode 6, Mafia. When an Italian-American insurance salesman tries to get Michael to buy a policy for the branch, the staff becomes convinced that he's in the Mafia. This is the episode where Jim and Pam were on honeymoon, so they were not actually there. You could hear them on the phone, but they were not physically there. The cold open was really dumb. Michael was talking about business fundamentals, and Ryan said, well, why don't you make a book about it? And so Michael starts to make a book about business fundamentals. It was dumb. Kevin is hanging out at Jim's office. He gets a call from the credit card company saying about fraud alerts, and he convinces them, or they say, oh, okay, well, obviously you're in Scranton, so all these charges in Puerto Rico are a fraud, so we'll shut down your credit card. And Kevin says, I think we should let the criminal use the card a little longer. Basically basically because Jim and Pam are not there, as Oscar calls it, the coalition for reason is out of balance. Usually they could rein in things, which is it is kind of funny. It's like basically Oscar, Jim, and Pam are the only quote unquote normal ones, and everybody else is a wacko. So so that was funny, but Jim and Pam weren't there, so Oscar was outnumbered. The Italian-American insurance salesman, I just found out, was the guy, Mr. Grotti. He was the guy in Dumber and Dumber when when that scene where there's like, you want to know what the most annoying noise in the world is? That guy, the guy that was in the car with him, that guy is the same guy that was in this episode. I thought that was funny. I think his name was Mike Starr or something like that. But the guy is he's very pushy, trying to get Michael to get insurance, and they tell him no, he's in the Mafia. They go to a restaurant. Michael, Dwight, and Andy is dressed like a mechanic so that he could have an excuse to have a tire iron in case he needs to hit the guy over the head. But as he is a mechanic, a lady comes over and says, can you fix my car? It needs jumped. And he puts the black wire with the red, which is, if you've ever jumped a car, you know that's the exact opposite of what you do. He blew up the car and might have totaled the car. The other funny thing is when they were ordering lunch, the salesman says a bunch of things like, I'll have this, I'll have that. If you put it on the side, I will bring it back. If you do this, I will bring it back. I'll bring it back. Keep saying I'll bring it back. And when they say to Michael, what will you have? He says, I'll have the gabagool. They're like, what the they're like, we don't know what that is. And Dwight's like, did you hear him? He said he wants the gabagool. But they said, well, we don't have gabagool. So he says, I'll have the spaghetti with a side salad. If the salad comes on top, I will send it back. That was cute. Michael calls Jim at the end, and like they tried very hard to not give him the number, but Michael called the hotel and told them that his dad had a heart attack or something like that, which is something Michael has done before. And Jim says, okay, it's like, okay, I know what you do. Here's what you do. He pretends to be broken up, and Michael's like, I don't understand you. He's like, that was pretty funny. All right. So that is this episode. Keep watching these. It's starting to get good. We're finally into the episodes with Michael Scott. I could not stand season 8 and season 9, so we are finally at it's getting good. Still have a long way to go. We're only in the 130s, so still have a long way to go. So thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you later.